Hello, team, and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MSP. This is Ukraine War, kind of a news extra video. I'm just testing a couple of things out with changing my browser and doing these videos. I want to see whether the Google Earth renders properly with this video. So I'm going to use this as an excuse to do a video on the Chonhar Bridge that was hit today, and also the Kinzhal missiles that I neglected to talk about. Actually, I didn't realize the news came out just after I had done my video. So let's go first, before we talk about the Chonhar Bridge hits, let's talk about the Kinzhal missiles. So these are the hypersonic missiles that Russia says are, you can't take them down, and everyone they fired against Kyiv has been taken down. They are hypersonic when they're flying in the atmosphere, right in the higher areas of the atmosphere where there's less air resistance, and then when they come down there's more air resistance, which means they actually get slower, but they do come down with a ballistic trajectory and they come down really quickly. Anyway, Patriot air defense system has been able to take these out apparently at 100% rate, I would have thought, around the Kiev area. However, we have seen some Kinzhals used elsewhere and possibly to sort of get around the air defense systems, so not using them to take out targets in Kiev. Air Force has reported that Russian forces launched Kinzhal missiles, so 3 of them, and cruise missiles and drones overnight. Russian forces launched 4 kamikaze drones, 3 Kh-22 cruise missiles, and 3 Kh-47M2 Kinzhal air-launched ballistic missiles. These are called also the Killjoy by NATO, and the translation of Kinzhal is dagger. So they used them overnight, the Air Force has reported. The Russians probably wanted to hit the dam in Kryvyi Rih, says RBC Ukraine. 3 Kinzhal released by the Russians at night were flying to the Dnipropetrovsk region, but the rockets did not reach their goal. So we have, at the moment, there's imagery of one Kinzhal crater. This is hit somewhere in near Kryvyi Rih, as far as I can work out. So it's quite a significant hit, you can see there. The thing about hypersonic missiles is the faster you want the missile to go, the smaller the warhead has to be, really, because the larger, the heavier the missile, the bigger the missile, the more expensive it's going to be, both in terms of resources and money, to get that missile to hypersonic status. So to those kind of really fast speeds. So hypersonic is Mach 5 and above, 5 times the speed of sound and above. So they generally will have smaller warheads than other missiles. That crater is a significant crater, and that is done with a hypersonic missile, as is claimed, but it might not be as big as other missiles that can be used. The idea is that the hypersonic can't be taken out. So you are making these trade-offs. Yeah, it can't be taken out, but it's got a smaller warhead. Okay, we use that. So it's horses for courses. Anyway, Russia have used these. We don't know what the targets were, but we can see, one of them hit there. Now, there are some claims, as you heard from RBC, that Kryvyi Rih, I mean, we're talking about this city here, which is not too far from Zaporizhia city, that is. It could be that they were going for the dam in Kryvyi Rih that then feeds the Inhulets dam that comes, Inhulets river actually comes down onto Dnipro river in Kherson, but this is a dam here. It could be that they were going for that. Whether that missile would have had significant effect on this dam, I mean, you've got to remember these are built to withstand a lot of stress, arguably to withstand even nuclear missiles and whatnot, because these are natural targets for ne'er-do-wells, international ne'er-do-wells, so or indeed domestic ne'er-do-wells. So it's unlikely that Kinzhal, I guess, would have had catastrophic effect on the dam, but we don't know. Maybe 3 Kinzhals all in one might have done. But anyway, that is what's happened. They didn't find their target, so it'd be interesting to know why that was, what happened to them, whether there's any kind of effect that the Ukrainians could have had on the missiles, or whether they just didn't hit their targets. I'm sure we'll find out at some point. Right, let's now move on to the Chonhar strike, or the strike on the Chonhar Bridge. So we have, first of all, what's the context? Well, it's interesting that we have seen logistics all the way down from Melitopol here down to Henichesk and further down, and you can include Jankoy here, with seeing things hit coming into the Perekop isthmus here from Kherson. So there's been this trend or for the Ukrainians to absolutely hammer Russian logistics for obvious reasons. But what about the Chon? Well, let's go and look at this on my map first. So, what is the Chonhar Bridge? What do we know about Crimea? Well, if you remember from my Crimea series, there are 3 access points onto Crimea from the land. First one is the Perekop Isthmus, which is up and around here in the northwest. So you can see Perekop as a place there. That is you know, your main access point, your widest point. Then you have the Chonhar Bridge, which is around here. So it looks like it's an isthmus, but actually, no, the water does pass through there. These are the Saivash sort of waters here. They are low. Well, at low tide, they are, I think, about 1 meter. High tide, they get higher. And there is a bridge or a number of bridges across there at Chonhar that gives you access to Crimea. And then at Henichest access, there's a bridge that gives you access to the Arabat Spit. So you can continue down there. So those are 3 points of access to Crimea, and it's Chonhar that was hit. And I was a little bit confused this morning as to what bridge was hit. There's talk about it being an unused bridge, but there are actually several bridges by the looks of it at Chonhar, over the Chonhar Strait. If we look at this image here, you can see, yeah, several bridges. And when we look at some of the footage, in fact, it might be able to do that here on this, this imagery. Well, if we go to, well, first of all, let's go to the initial explosion. So we have seen now some footage coming out. This is, I think, shortly after it was hit. You can see smoke around that bridge. Not a lot of detail, though, from that. And then there's another bit of footage here. You can see an explosion there in the distance, but the quality of that is pretty poor. Right, and then you had a number of videos. So you have, first of all, and bits of imagery. First of all, you have this hole. And we're going to talk about this in a second because some people it can't be a storm shadow to do way more damage than that. I'm not 100% sure because actually this, well, I say we'll get to that. You've got video of this guy looking down that hole and then showing apparently bits of storm shadow missile, so on and so forth. This is reinforced concrete. It takes quite a bit of doing to get through that. As you can see, there are 2 bridges there. You have this main bridge that appears to have the hole in. This is apparently evidence that it's a storm shadow. That is, MBDA France. So that's the maker of the storm shadow missile. And that's where it is on the map. Then you've got this bit of camera footage, and this is what I was getting a little bit confused at this morning because this bridge was not the one with the hole in. I was like, this is the unused bridge that doesn't, it's got no guardrails, but this is the one with guardrails where we saw that hole. However, there is evidence that this bridge has possibly been hit at a different time. I don't know, or that's not in a good way. So I'm suggesting that the hole you are seeing is not in that bridge. That is other damage. But I'll be interested to know whether that took place at the same time. And then you get so there again. There's lots of footage to show you the 2 bridges there. In fact, you can see damage to that bridge already in place, and I think this is I don't know. Yeah. Oh no, that looks like vehicles on the bridge. So yeah, this is the bridge that he's walking on just now, and it's filming this, and I think this one is unused. So if we go to this next video, you got talking about the hole, and then looking, it's actually, I think, in the other direction, you've got the other bridge. Unfortunately, I don't know what he's saying. But yeah, he's pointing at the other bridge. So I don't know what he's saying, but he's indicating, I think, that other bridge has been hit as well. So maybe there were 2 hits. I'm not 100% sure. And you can see that is important as well, possibly for what I'm going to say. So a hole in the mud below. So the claim by many is that this isn't powerful enough to be a storm shadow hit. Before we get there and talk about that, there's been this video footage being shown as well, which shows vehicles thrown to the side. This is old footage of when I think Crimea, the Russians smashed out of Crimea and invaded the mainland, and they pushed those vehicles aside. Some people are saying those vehicles are still there, but no, that's not on the footage from today. This is old footage. And Elliot Higgins from Bellingcat says some people are sharing the video, claiming it's from the aftermath of the attack on Chonhar Bridge. Others claiming that the cars have been placed there to fake damage from the attack, but it appears the footage is old. Okay, so it puts that to bed. Right, as far as the Storm Shadow is concerned, Storm Shadow has a broach warhead, which has an initial penetrating charge to clear soil or enter a bunker, and then a variable delay fuse to control detonation to the main warhead. Intended targets are command control and communication centers, airfields, ports and power stations, ammunition management, storage facilities, surface ships, submarines in port, bridges, and other high-value strategic targets. So let's show you what the equivalent to a Storm Shadow. This is a Taurus missile, and this is a German equivalent that they actually Ukraine have asked for, and this should show you why I think it probably was a Storm Shadow. So it's designed to kind of go through the first layer and then hit the support there. So you have possibly an initial explosion there, and then it goes into the second part. That's your broach warhead on the Storm Shadow. Now, the question is, so if we then go back to look at some of these other images, and we go back here to look at this. So let's look at this image again. My guess is that the broach warhead, the initial explosion took out this hole, and then the second part of the warhead, it depends what angle it was going in. If it was going away from us towards that support, then maybe it missed that support and went into the water beforehand, or maybe the missile was coming towards us, which means it could be that the support is further away from us now than this support is on that side. So if it's coming in this direction, flying down, goes through, and then it's just slightly misplaced and goes into the water or goes into the mud like this, I don't know. So I think it is probably a Storm Shadow missile. I mean, it's unlikely to be anything else, I would think. Right, the consequences of this. This is absolutely fascinating. So Dmitry, War Translated, says the Russian military blogger explains that the importance of the Chonhar Bridge. It was best suited for the Russian military and civilian supply in Kherson region, carrying 70% of the traffic. While it can be repaired, Russia does not have reliable means to prevent cruise missile strikes in the area. So it says here, the logistics of supplying new regions after the attack on the bridge will seriously become more complicated, and the risk of repeated arrivals will scare many away from attempting to cross. Both the military and commercial operators and all of us who work on the liberated territories will get into trouble, it says. And indeed, we are already seeing a 1.5 hour queue at the Perekop checkpoint, the border between Crimea and Kherson. So this is having significant effect, the Chonhar hit. And then there is a railway bridge to the west of the Chonhar Bridge. So let's go and have a look on my map again. So we go into the Chonhar area. We have the two bridges that either were both hit today, or certainly one of them was hit, but both are damaged. There you are. And then if you come to the west of here, there's a railway bridge. It could well be that is the railway bridge just there. It does look like it, coming over from this headland, the Saivash headland there. But I think there's also another bridge up here too. I don't know what kind of bridge that is. Looks like a much smaller kind of road bridge. But basically, these are now, I assume, in the crosshairs of the Ukrainian Storm Shadow missile firers. You have, of course, two bridges up here in Henichesk as well, across the water. And one would assume that they are also prime targets for the Ukrainians. They've already hit Henichesk itself, Azovske in the last 24 hours, actually. Rykove the other day. They're consistently, Primorska as well, consistently hitting places around here that have Russian bases and whatnot. So this is well within their range, of course it is, and I d- I don't know whether they weren't hitting them previously because, as I say, they might wanted to have used these bridges for their own uses, but I guess there's probably more value in taking them out and then having to deal with those problems later. Anyway, that's the end of that video. Short one today for me. Just seeing if this rendering works on Google Earth in Microsoft Edge. If that does, then I will migrate all my work over to Edge, and we shall see. Anyway, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.